Meher Baba ki jai. So let's start with how to love God, and then we go from there. How about you reading it, Ravi, if you're okay? How to love God.
Yeah, sure.
Are you able to? Oh, sorry, I stopped sharing for a bit. Mhm.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. How to love God. To love God in the most practical way is to love our fellow beings. If we feel for others in the same way as we feel for our own dear ones, we love God. If instead of seeing faults in others, we look within ourselves, we are loving God. If instead of robbing others to help ourselves, we rob ourselves to help others, we are loving God. If we suffer in the suffering of others and feel happy in the happiness of others, we are loving God. If instead of worrying over our own misfortunes, we think of ourselves more fortunate than many others, we are loving God. If we endure our lot with patience and contentment, accepting it as His will, we are loving God. If we understand and feel that the greatest act of devotion and worship to God is not to hurt or harm any of His beings, we are loving God. To love God as He ought to be loved, we must live for God and die for God, knowing that the goal of all life is to love God and find Him as our own self. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Okay, so let's continue from where we left off. So we did stop. Was Saturday the last 30th September? I think so. Yes. So we are in chapter 4. 1 second. Sorry, I was right in the perfect spot and then I scroll around. Mhm. Got it. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So if you recollect, we did this photograph and tried to figure out who are the people described here. And we continue from page 79. And we are in chapter 4, the post office days, right? Any volunteer to read?
I can start.
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe it was on our return from that short trip to Sakori that we stayed at Akbar Press in Ahmednagar before returning to Mehrabad. We spent 4 days there and then took a tanga back, a distance of perhaps 5 miles. On reaching Mehrabad, we heard that Baba was coming on foot from Ahmednagar. In those days, there were no buses or rickshaws. So the only way to travel from Ahmednagar to Mehrabad was in a tanga or bicycle or on foot. And many times Baba has walked the distance. By now, a lot of the villagers from the nearby Arangaon loved Baba, and to show their love for him, they went with drums and bells to welcome Baba back to Mehrabad. We were eager to catch a glimpse of Baba returning, and what a sight we saw! There was Baba looking so lovely, striding along the road to Mehrabad. while around him a throng of villagers joyfully danced and sang to the rhythm of their drums and bells. I wonder what they think about Baba in those days. Do they know
Yeah,
that Baba was God or just a great personality? We need to welcome him, something like that. No
I
idea.
think more likely the latter because there's a good tradition everywhere in India of respecting masters, right? So,
Mm,
obviously, there's a very clear um, um, following Baba had already at that time. So, most
mm,
likely, it was just that position of veneration that probably they offered to him.
yeah.
Yeah.
On Baba's 31st birthday on February 25th, 1925, we were to get up at around 2 a.m., but at that hour I could not open my eyes. What's happening? Please, I asked when awakened. Hurry, Mehra, get up. It's Baba's birthday. The girls told me. Oh, yes, Baba's birthday. I remembered, and I jumped out of my bedding and quickly got ready. It is our tradition to make pretty designs with powdered colored chalk on the ground at the entrance of the house and so hang freshly made garlands over the doorway on special occasions. In the early morning, I helped with the chalk designs and made the garland for the doorway. Outside the house for especially Sankranti, what do they call? They put with this
Rangoli.
rangoli and with white rice powder. In Telugu we call it muggu. With all the designs they put the designs outside with the cow
Yeah.
dung water they sprinkle and they make it into a background and they put all these uh, cow dung with flowers
Yeah, yeah,
decorate.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. In 1925, Baba's birthday was celebrated down the hill. As I have said, in those days the hill was out of bounds and no one was allowed to cross the railway lane. Baba had his bath quite early, and then my sister's husband, Rustom, picked him up in his arms and carried him to a chair. Baba looked so sweet with his beautiful hair loose, but it was cold at that hour of the day, and he must have been feeling chilly after taking a bath and then sitting in the open with just a thin sadra on. Someone, realizing this, put a shawl around Baba. Handfuls of people from Ahmednagar, Arangam, and Pune had gathered at Mehrabad for Baba's birthday, and each one wanted to wash Baba's feet. A big basin was placed under his feet, and the men's turn was first. One by one, they poured a little water on Baba's feet and then touched them. Baba was gesturing, hurry, hurry. He did not want people to make a fuss about taking his darshan and kissing his feet. He always wanted everything to be fast, and Baba sat in the cold and allowed this because his devotees wanted to wash his feet and to celebrate his birthday. Then the women were called. So we girls, one by one, poured water on Baba's feet and lightly touched them. Some splashed the water that had touched Baba's feet on their face and their eyes. For the first time, Baba allowed us to wash his feet on his birthday. We, a- we all had our work to do. I attended to Baba. Naja cooked, and we all helped her by cleaning the rice and dal and washing the pots and pans. Then we had the room to sweep, sewing to do, and so on. Baba had told my mother to repeat God's name for an hour every day, so she also had that to do. Baba was very fond of chutney, and one of the duties that he had given me was to prepare the chutney to accompany his rice and dal. It was a very simple one of just garlic, salt, and a little red chili ground together. I too loved chutney, but Baba now told me that I was not to eat it. One day the food was ready and Baba was seated on his rug on the floor. I served the chutney to him and he quickly tasted it. Who made the chutney? Baba asked. I did, Baba. You told me to make the chutney, I replied. But there's no salt in it. Oh, I said. I thought I put some in. No, said Baba. It needs salt. Why didn't you taste it before giving it to me? Baba, I replied, you told me not to eat chutney, so how could I taste it? Eating is one thing and tasting is another. You must taste what you give me. Otherwise, how will you know if it is done properly? You must make sure that what you serve me tastes right. You can't just serve me anything. So, from today, you are to taste it. Yes, Baba, I replied, and from that day I tasted the chutney. Sometimes we want to obey Baba, but in doing so, we make more mistakes. Baba was showing me that I should have used my common sense and that I was to take more care about what I gave him. As I have mentioned, Baba told my mother to meditate by repeating God's name for 1 hour each day, and while we did our household work, she would sit on the carpet in our room and quietly repeat God's name. At this time, Mani was a young child of perhaps 6. She had come from Pune to stay with us for some days, and she was mischievous and full of fun. When it came time for my mother to meditate, Mani saw how serious my mother looked as she sat repeating God's name. But Mani did not take her meditation seriously at all. In short, Mani could not resist teasing my mother. She knew that Daulat Mai loved to hear Persian spoken. And although Mani could not speak this language, she is very good mimic and could imitate the intonation of Persian in such a way that she sounded as though she were speaking it. So Mani began to speak pretend Persian to my mother. And Daulat Mai was so fascinated by Mani that she stopped meditating and turned around to listen to her. At that moment, Baba came into the room. He immediately saw what Mani was up to and he seemed very upset. Come here, he told her. Mani was very startled, for Baba did not look at all pleased with her. She went over to him, and this is how Baba punished her. He took a cooking pot from the shelf and put it on Mani's head. Poor Mani, it went right over her eyes, down to her ears, and she could hardly see. Now come and stand in the corner and remember this punishment. Baba told her, never again interrupt people's prayers. Didn't you know she was praying? Why did you interrupt her? Now turn your back. And Baba left the room. So Mani stood in the corner, feeling very ashamed of herself. A little later, small Koshat came into the room, and when she saw Mani standing in the corner with the pot on her head, Mani looked very funny. Koshat started to laugh. At that moment, into the room came Baba again. What are you laughing at? He asked Khorshid. Mani looks so funny standing there with the pot on her head, Khorshid replied. Oh, so you think she looks funny, do you? Said Baba. Then come here. And he took another pot and put it on Khorshid's head. Now you can both stand in the corner, he told them. They both looked so funny that we had to quickly leave the room before we too started to laugh. So Baba taught them their lessons, not to interrupt others' prayers and not to laugh at others' misfortunes. And their punishment was itself funny. It appealed to Baba's sense of humor. It was not Baba's way to punish them by slapping them, of course. Baba then embraced them and they were completely forgiven. One day, Baba was sitting on the veranda of the post office. As I have said, Baba seldom came into our room. He always sat on the veranda. Someone whom I do not know had given Baba a gold ring. And on this day, Baba sent Gustadji to our room to tell us that whoever had a gold ring should give it to Baba, and that Baba would give another in exchange. Only two of us had gold rings. I had the one that Upasni Maharaj had given me, and Big Korshad had a lovely one with a design on it. I tried and tried to get mine off, but it would not come off my finger. And Big Korshad's was her wedding ring. Gustaji went out and told Baba that mine would not come off my finger, and Baba sent him back to us, telling him that he was to bring Baba a ring. So again, I tried and tried, and at last the ring came off my finger. Gustaji took it out to Baba, and after a few minutes, Baba came into our room holding both rings in his hand. Resting on a window, still in our room, we had Baba's photograph and two silver vases. We kept flowers in the vase, and each morning we would bow down to Baba's photo. Baba now stood in front of his photo and said to me, "Take this ring and keep it." And he put the ring on my finger. It was the ring that I had just given to Baba and had been given to me by Upasni Maharaj in Sakori. And I realized that Baba wanted to put that same ring on my finger with his own hands. He then put the other ring, the one that someone had given to him, on the same finger. It was a very beautiful ring with Baba's name inscribed on it. And he told me, "Wear it always," which I do. So both the rings that I wear are from Baba. Once Chanji, who, as I have said, had a cinema business in Bombay, brought a film called Sant Sakhu for Baba to see. It is the beautiful story of a woman who was, like Mehera, a saint. Baba decided to show it on Upasni Maharaja's birthday in May 1925, and he invited all the village people to see the film. When it was started, we girls quickly made our way up to where Baba was sitting and sat behind him.
I think
Baba
it's a
was,
Maharashtrian saint by the name Shakubai.
yeah, Shakubai.
Shakubai.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a Telugu movie also, Sati Sakkubai, that
Oh, okay.
Anjali acted. She was a saint, and husband is was a businessman or a drunkard or something like that.
Okay.
Very bad person, something like that. I vaguely remember. Yeah.
I remember my mom talking about it, but I don't know anything about the. Yeah.
Mm. Baba was very close to us, and Naza quietly reached out and touched his sadra very lightly. Then small Korshet did the same. I thought, if they can touch Baba sadra, why shouldn't I? So I also reached out and touched Baba sadra. I hardly touched it. I just lightly put my finger on the loose fold in it when immediately Baba turned around and demanded, "Who touched my sadra?" It was so embarrassing with the crowd there to have to say that I was the one, and of course, Baba gave me a good scolding. "Why did you do that?" he asked. "Are you in a habit of touching men's clothes?" He made it so difficult for me. "No, Baba," I replied. "I have never done it before. This is the first time." The other girls, Naja and Korshad, could do something like this, and Baba did not mind. But he was very, very strict with me. Baba was so fond of sports, especially cricket, and with cricket, he was very particular about the rules. One morning, some extra men had come from Ahmednagar so that there were enough for a cricket match. And Baba was in a very happy mood. "Get ready," he said. "We'll have a game of cricket." While the Mandali were setting up the wickets, Baba came into our room and told me, quickly tie my hair back. I have to play cricket. I ran to the ribbon box, chose a nice satin ribbon, and while Baba held his hair for me, I tied it back with a pretty bow. As the Baba Sadra was always open, little down the front, it was loose at the back, and the nape of his beautiful neck was showing. When Baba walked away from our room, he looked so lovely from the back, so slim, with his brown hair shining and curling, and a pretty bow resting on his fair neck. Baba was very serious about cricket, and since to play well one needs to be able to move freely, he tucked his sadra into his pants. From afar, we watched him play. Baba looked very beautiful in the sunlight, playing so intently. I especially loved to watch him run. Sometimes later, at the end of 1926, when Baba took us to Lonavala and then Bombay for a month, we again saw him play. It was in Lonavala,
Yeah,
and
Lonavala.
it was Lonavala, not Lonavala,
Lonavala, it is Lonavala.
Lonavala, I see. And it was quite a short game. Baba's mother, Shirin Mai, was there, and also my mother and Gulmai and my sister. Baba did not like us to stare when men were playing. So, from the veranda of our house, we peeked from behind our elders at Baba playing in the garden. Baba was strong and wiry in those days, and he was all rounder, good at batting, bowling, and wicket keeping. One day, when we had first come to the post office and before the bamboo matting fence was built, we saw Baba walking across the field, and we could hear him singing beautifully as he walked. Baba stopped singing and came towards us, where we were cooking and working on post office veranda. Do you know how fortunate you are to be with me at this time during these days? He asked us. Yes, Baba, we replied. But at the same time, we did not really know how very fortunate we are. Now we appreciate those days when Baba was still talking and singing. We had no idea that Baba would keep silence for 44 years and how we would miss his talking and singing and laughing. Sometimes later, Baba told us that from 15th June 1925, he would keep silence from his work, for his work. But this is what happened. Sparrows had made a nest in the roof the of the post office, and it had become infested with lice. Gulmai came from Ahmednagar to spray the lice, but while she was standing on a ladder, it slipped from under her and she fell and was slightly hurt. It was because of Gulmai's fall that Baba postponed the commencement of his silence until 10th July 1925. On 9th July 1925, Baba came to our room. Baba was staying in his jhopdi and he had not been coming to see us at all lately. Now I think it was so that we should get used to not seeing him so that we should not miss him too much. He told us, from tomorrow, 10th July, I will observe silence, and when my work is finished, I will talk. You're all to stay cheerful and happy and to take care of your health and to obey my orders. By telling us like this, Baba made us feel that this silence was not very serious, in order that we should not feel sad. Baba said that we were to put our warm jackets on in the evening when it was cold, that we were not to gargle with cold water, and that we were to remember whatever others orders he had given us. He also told us that we were to cook for the Babajan High School children and to make sure that we cooked properly for them. We were not to think of them as village children, but as our own, and to cook for them with love and care. Baba's love for the poor was so beautiful. He then told us that he would not be coming to see us and reminded us to be happy and to obey his orders.
You want to take a pause and rotate, Ravi?
Repeat what?
No, no, no. I think we'll rotate the reading.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
So,
Mhm. Sure.
sure. I see Ashok after a long time. Ashok, are you in a position to read? Maybe not.
Okay, I will read.
Please, Jai
Yes,
Baba. Baba
Jai
then
Baba.
turned.
Baba then turned to me and told me that he would also be fasting for some time and that every day I should boil one big cup of milk and send it to him. He said I was to see that the milk did not smell of onion or garlic. So after that, I did not touch onion or garlic. I was also to make for him a hot green chili pepper, slit and stuffed with chopped garlic and salt, then fried. Naja helped me with this as I could not touch the garlic. From that time on, I took care that my hands did not smell of anything, not even kerosene from the stove, before I touched Baba's cup. I kept the milk and chili ready so that when one of the girls came rushing in to say, Padri is waiting for Baba's milk and chili, I could quickly boil the milk and freshly fry the chili. So uh, Baba was on fast for just one cup of milk and a chili a day at the beginning of his silence. He must have been doing some very special work at that time. From 10th July, we heard a new sound. It was the sound of loud claps. Oh, it must be Baba clapping to draw the attention of the mandli, we realized. Those first days of keeping silence must have been very difficult for Baba. Baba was outgoing. He loved to talk, to sing, and to laugh, and he was not used to being silent. Baba had so much work, and he still supervised everything and saw to everything. Nothing was done without consulting him, so naturally he would want to talk, but he did not. It was very, very difficult for Baba. It is so natural to laugh, but when the mandli around him said something funny, Baba could not laugh out. He covered his mouth with a kerchief to remind himself not to make a sound. Baba put so much strain on himself. At first, Baba wrote very quickly on a slate, as those around him could not understand his gestures. I remember that he used English and Gujarati. Now at night, when I think of darling Baba, I wonder if he sang out loudly in the Jyoti just before 12 o'clock on 9th July. He loved singing, and he knew that in a few minutes he would no longer be able to sing for the rest of his life. We took Baba's silence very lightly at that time. When at the very first Baba had told us about it, he had said that when his work was finished, he would talk. So we thought, oh yes, 7 days will pass and then Baba will talk. But 7 days went by and Baba did not talk. And then we waited and waited, and now it was 7 months and still Baba was silent. This was serious to us, and we asked each other, when will Baba speak? We missed his voice, his talking, Baba's beautiful singing, and his cheerfulness. One day we asked Baba, when shall we hear your lovely voice, Baba? When shall we hear you sing and talk again? And Baba replied on his slate, I will talk again when I finish my work. Baba kept giving us hope so that we would not feel hopeless. But for the next 44 years, Baba kept silence. Our compound had for some time been barricaded and bamboo matting, and a big temporary kitchen made of bamboo matting with a tin roof was built in our enclosure. Many new people were now coming from Ahmednagar for Baba's darshan and were
What is the
curious
picture?
about us. Baba's darshan, and they were curious about us. Baba quietly had this fence put up, and we were happy about it. We did not go outside it, and no men except Baba and Gustaji could come inside. The new kitchen had 5 wood-burning fireplaces, and in this kitchen, the food for the Babajan High School children was cooked. My mother supervised the work. She showed Naja and the girls the right proportions of dal and rice, spice and garlic to use for so many people, and then they cooked it on these fireplaces. There was a
Just
lot
one
of work
second.
to do.
We'll see the
Yes,
photograph and then continue. Yeah.
yes.
So that's the post office building. This is no longer there. Yeah.
The
So
post
that's,
office at
go ahead.
Mehrabad during 1925 and 1926, showing the bamboo screening Baba had erected to ensure the women's privacy. The shed inside the compound is the outdoor kitchen used for preparation of Babajan High School children's food. Photo taken from model.
So it's again the scale model that was created. So it's not a actual shot.
Yes.
I wonder why they call it post office.
No, it
Was it
was.
operated?
Oh, yeah. Maybe it was a post office in the time when it was
It
the British
was
barracks.
it, it was a military post office, and it was built very close to the railway line so that they can quickly pass on and receive
Right.
parcels because there was a military camp,
Oh, I see.
as we know. And later, the message came from railways to demolish it, which era says we kept on delaying, and then they sent a message that if you don't demolish it, we will demolish it. That is railways, and we charge you. So then they decided that they will charge us so heavily, we'll not be able to pay, and the Mandli themselves demolished the whole thing, and those stones went up the hill for Baba's tomb. That's
Oh,
the
I
story.
see.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know all the other stuff. I only knew that the stones were used. That's interesting. Why
Yeah,
would they insist on demolition?
there's
No,
because
maybe
then they said
so
after the
near.
war was over, then they said it is unsafe and there are fires coming from the coal engines, and if it gets burned, then we are not
Ah,
responsible.
it's close to the line.
So
Okay.
that's what it says. When the war was on, it was safe, and then after the war was over, then they said it is unsafe and all that. There is a good talk on this, and I have it on my USB, so I often
Right.
hear it in my car. So in the Mandli Hall
Really talks.
channel, yeah, Mandli talks, yeah, Mandli Hall talks
Probably it's all probably a divine plan that all these stones need to go there, I guess.
of the talk. Yeah, let me search if I can send the link.
Sure.
Yeah.
Uh, where
There was
was
a lot. Yeah.
yeah. There was a lot of work to do. We had no running water, just a tub with a tap inside our compound some distance from the kitchen, and there was much running back and forth to wash the rice and dal. Then it had to be cooked in big pots over these fires, and the heat was terrific. The fires were very hot and very smoky, and the tin roof would get very hot too. Every day, food for more than 100 people had to be cooked, and it was to be ready by 10 o'clock in the morning. So everyone was very busy, all rushing to get their work done. Baba himself served the food to the children and to anyone going along the road who was hungry. Sometimes he tested the rice with his fingers to see whether it was properly cooked. Then Baba said that he wanted a vegetable dish to be cooked in the evening. The vegetables had to be carefully cleaned of grit and bits of grass and washed well before cooking. And so many chapatis had to be made for the school children and the mandli. Each one of us was allotted their separate duties, and everyone was busy all the time in those days. There was no school in the village at that time. Baba was the first to open a school for these villagers and the first to give them the idea that they could learn to read and write. One morning, perhaps a month after Baba started his silence, he came into our compound and stood on the east veranda of the post office. Baba had not come there for some time. I did not see Baba as I was inside the room cleaning his breakfast utensils, but he must have given a clap for one of the girls working in the temporary kitchen. When they came running up to him, he gestured, "Send Mehera." They came rushing to the room and told me, "Quickly, Mehera, Baba wants you." Oh, I thought as I went to the veranda, Baba wants to tell me something. I hope I have not made a mistake. Baba had freshly bathed and he was standing on the veranda beside the wooden packing case that he used as a seat. The veranda was raised about 18 inches above the ground on which I stood looking up at him. I could not believe my eyes. Baba was so beautiful. He was very young and very, very slim. Baba's skin was very fair, and this morning there was a pink flush on his face. His brown hair was loose, shining in the sun, with the tips golden and looking like a halo around it. Baba was wearing a new sadra, fresh and white, which was open at the neck, and the little V of his chest showing was pink from his being in the sun. Baba asked me, "What were you doing?" "I was doing my work, Baba," I replied. "Are you happy?" "Yes, very happy," I told him. He was making small talk with me. Then Baba sat on the packaging case, took the slate, and on that he wrote down what he wanted to tell me. "From the first time I saw you, I recognized you as my Radha," he said. And he told me some other things too, but that much I can tell you. I can tell you. Okay, she is not willing to reveal the other thing. Okay. The atmosphere at Mehrabad was very beautiful. Everyone was happy to be serving Baba. We were all laughing and running as we did our work. Then one day someone said something to Baba that upset him very much, and he called us girls. "You all leave at once," he told us. "Leave Mehrabad this very minute. Go back to Ahmednagar." Without packing, dressed as we were in our old saris, which draped over our heads, we walked across the field and started down the road to Ahmednagar. Go means go, and we could not stop to change or to find an umbrella for the sun. What have we done? We wondered. Why are we being thrown out? We had left everything to be with Baba, and now we did not know to whose house we should go. So we walked and worried and worried and walked very slowly down the road, and a stray village dog, which had been feeding, followed us. It was fortunate that we went slowly, because after a while we heard someone clapping and the sound of footsteps running up behind us. We turned to see one of the Mandli coming after us. He told us that Baba had said we were to come back. We were so relieved and happy. We turned around and with very quick steps, we returned to Meherabad and resumed our work. I stop here. Can
Sure.
any idea be there that what is that Mehera hid from not telling all of us in this
No
story?
idea. I don't know. Any others?
Preposterous to make
Okay.
judgments. So
Not
refrain from.
judgment, but that is quite curious. No?
Whatever, guess, whatever, judgment or guess.
Yes,
So let's leave it like that. Yeah. We may come across somewhere if Baba wants us. Yeah. Yeah, Baba.
yes.
Indeed. So, who wants to read? Shiva, Kiran, anyone?
Yeah, Jai Baba, I can read.
Please, Jai Baba. Please continue.
Jai Baba Karthik. Karthik, I'm traveling in train, so I
Okay,
may not be able to read.
Yeah,
no problem.
Jeva,
Thank
Karthik,
you. Jai Baba.
after Kiran reads, and if you have time, I'll read.
Sure. So I'm doing a better job of rotating this. So 20 minutes per person. So around 7.
Okay,
Yeah.
around 8.
Jai Baba. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
8:30.
Yeah, it's okay. So 7 is a divine number. Anyway.
Okay, Jai Baba.
Jeva.
Kiranji, it was now.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It was now February 1926 and Baba's birthday. Instead of having a cake, we celebrate birthdays by serving a very rich dish called rava. It is made from semolina, ghee, sugar, raisins, and almonds, and is served hot. It not only tastes delicious, but it has a very tempting aroma. We usually serve it with tea early in the morning of a person's birthday. On his birthday morning, Baba was seated on the Sai Darbar near the post office, and Masaji, Naja's father, who was an excellent cook, placed before Baba a big pot of steaming rava. The Mandali were called first, and Baba gave each of them one by one a generous helping of rava on their plates. Then it was the woman's turn. I loved rava, and I was feeling very happy that Baba was giving such big portions. We seldom had a treat like this, and in that early morning, I was eagerly looking forward to a plate of delicious steaming rava and a glass of hot tea. By the way, yesterday I had rava as my dinner.
Okay.
Yeah,
So did you
yeah.
have rava in sweet form or in
No,
savory?
without savory. Yeah, without sweet.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Yeah.
Cool. I
Some
think
of
this is the North Indian tradition of having breakfast as the sweet rava. It's big even here in Dubai. I think all the Pakistani people do this. All the Pakistani restaurants serve rava. I think they call it something else, but it's basically kesari bath, like the Bangaloreans would call it.
Yeah, so Rava is called halwa there actually, not
Halwa,
India.
correct. You're right. Halwa.
And
Thank you.
yeah, so halwa and puri is a staple breakfast. I mean,
Correct. Thank you.
or only halwa is used as a sweet dish, separately. Also.
Yes. Exactly. Halwa puri is the staple breakfast for all the locals, the Pakistanis. Okay. Now that we're all nice and hungry, let's continue reading.
Yeah, some of the older women took theirs, and then it was my turn. So I gave my plate to Baba. Baba put his hand in the pot and brought out a pinch of rava, the size of a peanut, and put it on my plate. I looked at Baba and I did not know what to say. Baba said to me, "You have a cold, don't you?" "No, Baba," I said, "I don't have a cold, a sore throat." "No, Baba, no sore throat." Baba then said, "All right." And he put the ladle in the pot and gave me a good helping. And with a plate of rava and our aluminium glass of tea, we girls went back to our room to quietly enjoy our feast. Baba looked so beautiful serving rava to all, and I still remember how sweet he was that time. Baba was very playful and he loved to tease us. But he also knew that I had been feeling greedy and he showed me that he knew. One evening after 4:30, someone called out, "Baba is coming." So we quickly put our work aside and tied our saris, and Baba arrived with a cricket bat, ball, and wicket. "I'm going to show you how to play cricket," he told us. So Baba showed us how to bat and how to bowl. He explained how to score and how to hit a boundary and so on. With Baba teaching us, we all had a great fun. That day, we played for a short time, and when Baba saw that we understood the game, he told us that we are now to play for 1 hour every day. We were very still we were still very young and we did not leave our compound. But Baba did not want us to feel confined. He also knew that we needed the exercise. So by playing cricket, we could shout and laugh and feel free, and our minds would not feel that we were cooped off and shut in. Baba Samadhi was not yet built, and the only building on the hill was the old army water tank, which in 1926 had not been renovated. All the new temporary buildings were on the lower Meherabad side of the railway line, as was the post office, the main house Dharmasthala, Chopadi, and the bathing rooms. After Baba began his silence, and for some time even before that, we oddly saw Baba. One day in mid 1926, Gustaji called to us and from his storeroom on the post office veranda. "Look quickly, see Baba's going up the hill. Look over there." And we all rushed to a point in the post office compound where we could see over the railway line. As I have said, the post office had a high bamboo matting fence which enclosed our room and our temporary kitchen, so that from the outside people could not look in and we were free to do our work. But we also did not have an open view of the outside and we could not know that Baba was going up the hill. It was still out of bounds and it was unusual for Baba to be going up there. We rushed to the one high spot from where we could see the railway line, and there we saw Baba going up the hill alone in his white sadra with his hair loose. He looked very lovely. Baba had just left the railway crossing to start up the hill, and we excitedly uh, jostled each other to see Baba after so many days. He must have heard our let me see, because he turned around. "Baba's looking," we exclaimed, and we waved to him, and he waved back. We were so happy. Then he walked a little further and turned around to see if we were still there watching, and again we waved and he waved back. So like this, Baba went up the hill, stopping and turning and waving to us. There were no trees on the hill in those days, and we could see Baba going up very clearly. Baba looked so sweet. Then when he got to the very top, he turned again and we were still there. Baba looked so tiny to us and we so tiny to him, yet we waved again to him and Baba waved to us. There was no gate and no wall up there in those days, just a large water tank with two big rooms inside. Because it was a tank, there was no door at ground level. That was made later for the Prem Ashram boys, but instead there were steps leading up to an opening in the top of one of the walls. The upper floor had not then been built. Baba stood on the very top of the steps, then turned around and made a sign to us that he was going inside the tank. So we came away and Baba went inside this big water tank to be in seclusion for his work. Then at the end of 1926, Baba dismantled everything. The school was stopped. We packed up all the kitchen utensils and got our trunks ready to leave with Baba. Baba had all the temporary buildings at Mehera, the Sai Darbar, Babajan High School, and so on pulled down. And only the post office, main house, Jopadi, table house, and bathing rooms remained at Lower Mehrabad. And we left with Baba for Lonavala and Bombay.
Okay, that brings us to the close of chapter 4. So all the trees I think came much later. So I'm still thinking how you could get such a good view of the pilgrim retreat and the tank from below, because right now all you see is the trees, right? So you can hardly see even the samadhi is not visible. You see the flag of the pilgrim retreat, but nothing else.
I think I think one of the Baba Mandali or somebody, they planted the trees. That's what I read somewhere, but I don't remember who it was. The
Yeah.
trees
So it's
were,
yeah, it's a planned activity. So I think the trust, with a view to making it as shaded and leafy as possible, they have actually done some very planned planting. So most of the trees are gulmahars and shade yielding trees, and of course they take their time growing. So if you see the path from the path from Lower Mehrabad to Upper Mehrabad, it's a planned set of trees on both sides, and hence it's almost shaded. Likewise, the areas around the Samadhi, all rows of trees in rows and columns very clearly, again with an intent to not just make it green, but also have it as shaded as possible. So there's some design to the whole thing.
yeah. But I think the trees were planted during Baba's
Yeah,
when
it
Baba was there itself.
started at that time.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You're right. And I don't know the name of the mandali, so maybe there was somebody who took the
Yeah,
lead
it
on
was
that.
not probably Mandali. Yeah. It could be somebody who, I think probably a Mandi. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay. So
Which
let's
trees are
continue.
you guys
and
talking about? Which trees are you guys talking about?
The
The present
trees,
trees?
upper and lower Maharabad. Yeah.
Right now, the big tree, all the plantations?
Yes.
Oh, that was done by Peter Booth.
Oh, okay.
Peter Booth took over that project a few years ago and did all that work, plantations all around it, and all the from the Pilgrim Center, all the used water was laid out in different layers. It was all done in with those people.
Nice.
Yeah, he did a great work, unbelievable work.
Yeah. It's so beautiful.
And Peter Booth, I know some of you might have seen him, very thin and short and uh, very innocent, and you cannot think, he did all this project if you look at him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Ravi, I think we are talking of the times when Baba was there. So
Yeah.
long back,
Oh, I
these
see, I
trees,
see.
and then somebody else took the project, and somebody else took the project to expand it.
Oh,
Even
I see.
last
Yeah, I don't
30
know.
years that have
Yeah,
been going, so a lot of
yeah,
trees have grown up now, and 10
yeah,
years back there was a lot of fresh initiative was taken, and in the slopes around the hill, all the trees were planted. Backside of the Samadhi, all these tree
yeah.
plantation has come only recently. Yeah,
Yeah, very recently. All the drip
yeah, 10,
irrigation,
10,
all this
10,
stuff.
15 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Probably
one more.
the trees would be more than 100 years old also. Maybe it's in planted at different times.
Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. A few minutes of Kiran, and then 5 minutes actually of Kiran, and then we have Ashok read.
Yeah.
Chapter
Chapter
6, Premashram years.
yes.
I've been
Yeah,
thinking
Premash.
I was thinking we are still in chapter 4 when I started the session. So we are actually in chapter 5, which we just ended, and now we get to chapter 6.
Yeah, Prem-ashram years, December 1926 to 1929. Baba and his party spent a month in Lonavala and Bombay, and at Christmas 1926, they returned to Mehrabad to begin what became known as the second great stay at Mehrabad. Baba quickly reopened the Ajrat Babajan High School for the village boys, now located at the family quarters on the outskirts of nearly Arangaon village, and he also started a separate one for village girls. Then in May 1927, Baba began the boarding school for boys known as the Mehera Ashram. Children came from as far away as Persia, Iran to join it. Initially, it was also housed in the family quarters, but within the 2 months, Baba had most of the students, along with the Ajrat Babajan High School students, moved to the old water tank on Mehrabad Hill. On first
So,
returning to
so again, just for context, what is being referred to here as the water tank is the building now called Meher Pilgrim Retreat, the one with the flag and the tower, right? And the library in the ground floor and the staircase going up to the discussion room on top. So that was the tank. So the ground
Meher
floor was the
retreat.
tank,
Meher retreat.
and yeah, go ahead.
It is Meher retreat or Meher Pilgrim retreat?
Yeah, sorry, Meher Retreat. You're right.
I think it is Meher retreat.
Yes, Meher Retreat. Meher Pilgrim Retreat is where we stay. Yeah, you can continue, Kiran.
On first returning to Mehrabad, Baba stayed in either the Jopadi or the table house down the hill. In August 1927, Baba moved up the hill to make a shift room that was later to be rebuilt as his Samadhi. And in November 1927, Baba began a 5.5 month fast and seclusion in his home. In March 1928, Baba divided the Meher Ashram and one section was called the Prem Ashram. After Baba moved up the hill, Mehera and the Woman Mandali seldom saw him until Baba in 1928 moved the entire ashram to Toka. They stayed there until November 1928 when Baba moved everything back to Mehrabad. At Christmas 1926, we returned to Mehrabad from Bombay and Lonavala, and we girls stayed not in the post office but in the bathing rooms near the Duni, where my mother and I had lived during our first stay at Mehrabad in May 1924. Baba had a bamboo matting fence put around the building, so we felt quite comfortable and private there. There were just a few of us, my mother, myself, Naja, small Khurshid, and later her mother, Sona Masi, and also big Khurshid. Baba would come and go to our room to tell us something or to have his lunch. My mother and Naja cooked and I took care of Baba's clothes and made his tea and served his food. We also washed vessels and made chapatis and swept the rooms and washed our clothes and so on. Baba saw to it that we were kept busy. When we first returned, Baba was staying sometimes in the Jopadi and sometimes in the table house. The Mandali stayed in the old Dharmashala. In the evening, after the lanterns were lit, Baba went to the Dharmashala to be with the Mandali and they began to sing Aarti for him. His first Aarti was in Marathi. It was composed by a Brahmin college boy who came to know of Baba, and while he was quite a new Baba lover, he had enough faith in Baba to write this beautiful Aarti. We did not have work in the evening, and from a far distance, we could hear the Mandali singing. There were no proper windows in our rooms, only high ones for ventilation, so we could not look out. But by standing on our toes and straining our ears near a window, we could hear the sound of the Aarti being sung. And we would think how lovely for the Mandali, they are singing Aarti to Baba. Baba must be seated there, how beautiful. So one evening passed, then another, and then a third. And we could all be thinking, if only we could touch Baba by singing Aarti to him, if only we could hear, only if we could have the chance. How nice for the Mandali, how nice for the Mandali. Well, never mind. We can hear them sing, we can hear them singing, and we can picture Baba seated there looking pleased and happy. Then one evening, as Aarti was being sung and we were straining under the window to listen to it, we heard footsteps outside our door. Oh, we thought, who is coming? Nobody's supposed to come here. Who is it? We turned around and Baba was in the doorway. Aarti was still being sung and we had left and come to us. And he had left and come to us. Baba had come to us and we sat with us and he sat with us and had us massage his feet. That shows that Baba is God because he knew our thoughts and heard our longing. And he heard our longing. He knew that we were clinging to the wall, listening to the Aarti and longing to be with him. Baba had thought of us and that made us happy.
Okay, we can stop and rotate here if you don't mind, Kiran.
Yeah, Jai Baba. Yeah.
Jai Baba, Jai Baba. Ashok ji, over to you.
Okay.
In August.
Yeah. In August 1927, Baba left the Chopdi and table house where he had been staying at Lower Mehera to stay on the hill and to be near the Prem Ashram boys who were living in the water tank. Before moving up the hill, Baba came to our room and told us to be happy and to obey his orders and to take care of our health. After he left us, we saw little of Baba for some time. On the hill, Baba stayed in what is now the Samadhi, but in those days, it was not a nice stone building, but a very rough looking room made from odd bits of tin sheets and tarpaulins. It was full of cracks, and a snake could easily have crawled inside. And at night, Baba not only stayed there, but he slept down in a pit he had dug inside the room that was later to become his crypt. We were still not permitted on the hill, so we did not see where Baba was living until later on Baba's birthday in February 1928, when, as a special treat, he allowed us to go up there. At that time, Baba was in seclusion and in this makeshift room, and he did not step out of the room, but he stood in the doorway, and from afar we had his darshan and saw how he was living. From mid-November 1927, Baba was on a fast up the hill for about 5 and 1.5 months, and for some of that time he was in seclusion in this makeshift room. All that Baba had to eat during those months were 2 cups of milk coffee a day, which he had sent word for me to prepare and to send up to him every day. I prepared it very carefully, keeping the flask for the coffee very, very clean, properly measuring the milk, and taking great care that no onion or garlic smell tainted the milk. Every morning, I sent 2 cups of coffee in a flask up the hill to Baba with a small boy of 8 or 9 years. And it is so sad. Baba could not talk, and now he was on this very long fast, taking only these 2 cups of coffee a day, and he did not even have these 2 cups. After the fast was over, the subject came up, and we found that the boy who carried the flask up the hill would stop over the railway line, sit in a ditch, and drink a part of Baba's coffee. And Baba never complained about getting less coffee. During his seclusion in the crypt room, Baba did sometimes allow certain visitors to see him. Gulmai and occasionally my sister would come to Meherabad and would see Baba for a few minutes. Otherwise, no women were permitted on the hill, and we had not seen him for several months. Now, K. Kushru Masa, small Kush's father, was not in good health, and Baba permitted him to go up the hill to see Baba. And when K. Kushru Masa came down the hill, he told us how much the Prem Ashram boys loved Baba and how they clung to him. We began to feel a little jealous and to think, for the last few months, Baba has completely forgotten us. He has been so engrossed with the Prem Ashram boys, he is not thinking of us at all. We must remind him that we are here. So we girls talked it over, trying to decide how we could draw Baba's attention to us. We would not send him food as he was on fast, and at last we decided that we would send him a garland. But from where were to get sorry, from where were we to get flowers? We were not allowed to send for anything from the bazaar, so we could not buy flowers. And there are no flowers at Mehrabad. There was, however, a young Hindu woman who lived in Arangaon village called Valu, who came to Mehrabad to serve Baba. She loved Baba very dearly, and later she came to stay with us. At that time, she swept the compound, carried water from the well to fill our big water tub, and did other jobs. So we asked Valu whether there are any wild flowers in Arangaon. She told us there are no flowers in this village. There isn't enough rain for flowers to grow. But then she remembered that she had seen some oleander trees growing in a dry creek bed some distance from the village. So in the evening, when her duties at Mehrabad were finished, she went alone to this riverbed, filled her sari with these very lovely single oleander flowers, both pink and white. It was getting dark, so she quickly came all the way back to our room at Mehrabad to give us the flowers. We were very
I
happy.
guess Balu's name is there in the Tower of Silence.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. That's a good piece of information. We were very happy and excited, imagining the big surprise that we would give Baba. We, as always, had no furniture, just a cotton carpet. So we sat on the floor and measured our necks to decide how long this garland should be and chatted about how much allowance we should make for Baba's height. And we happily argued about how to arrange the pink and white flowers. We made a garland and there were flowers left over. So we made flower bracelets for Baba's wrists. And still there were flowers. So we made Baba a little crown of flowers. Then we wrapped them up in a damp cloth to keep them fresh until morning when we would send them with Kaikushru Masa to Baba. When morning came, we told him, please take this bundle of flowers and give them to Baba. Even if he doesn't want them, try to leave them on his doorstep. As I have said, Baba was in seclusion. When Kaikushru Masa came near the door, he joined his hands out of respect as we do in prayer to Baba. From inside the room, Baba said, pointing to the flowers, what is this? Baba gestured for him to open the wrapping and said, how very lovely they look. And Baba put his hand through the doorway to take the flowers from Kaikushru Masa. As no one was allowed to touch Baba at this time, Baba himself placed the girdle around his neck and then he put on the flower bracelets. Lastly, with an amused smile, Baba placed the crown of flowers on his head and he told Kai Kushru Masa to tell us that he liked the flowers and had put them on himself. When we heard this, we were so happy, and the next day we said to Valu to bring us more flowers. So that is how we made Baba think of us. Baba thinks of and knows everyone. He's God. But in those days we were still ignorant. While while Baba was still keeping his very long fast, Baba Jan came from Pune to Mehrabad to see him. She had never traveled anywhere or even rode in a car in Pune itself. But at the beginning of April 1928, Babajan came all the way to meet Baba. Her car stopped at the railway line and word was sent up the hill to Baba that Babajan had come. Baba left his seclusion and came down the hill to Babajan's car. Nobody saw this meeting, not even the Mandali, but we were speaking through the bamboo matting around our rooms, and although we could not see very much, we did see Baba approach Babajan's car. How Baba greeted her, we could not see, but Baba and Babajan made contact with each other after many, many years. Babajan wanted to see Baba again. This was the last time I saw Baba Jan in her physical body, and we realized later that she had come to say goodbye to Baba. Babajan dropped her body in 1931, just after Baba had left for his first trip to the West. In mid 1928, Baba came down the hill to us from the Prem Ashram and he told us that we were moving to Toka, which is about 50 miles from Meherabad, between Meherabad and Aurangabad. So we went to Toka. We arrived in Toka in the afternoon, feeling hot and tired after the drive in the summer heat, but we went straight to work, getting settled in. Baba's things, our own things, pots and pans, cups and plates, all had to be quickly arranged. As the next morning, we girls had to start cooking for the Prem Ashram boys and the Mandali. We were very, very busy, so by the time we went to bed, we felt very tired. We had decided to get up at 5 the next morning in case Baba came to our compound early. In Meherabad, Baba used to come after 5 and we wanted to be ready for him. But Baba did not come at 5 a.m. He came at 3:45 a.m. and we were still in bed. Baba clapped loudly and gestured. What? You are still sleeping? Why are you so late? We jumped out of our beds and I ran to Baba. I ran to get Baba's water ready for his morning face wash and shave. I got everything ready for him his water, soap for his face, towel, shaving things, and the seat for him to sit on. Our quarters were in the field. They were surrounded by bamboo matting, and this made our compound private so we could feel free to do our work. There were many of us in Toka, 25 or 30 women, some of whom were Hindu, some Parsi, and some Irani. We had a row of rooms and another big room that was supposed to be a kitchen, but which, as we were quite crowded, was partitioned into a kitchen and sleeping space for two of the elderly women. We girls slept on the floor quite close together. Next door, my sister Fanny stayed with her children, and there was yet another small room. So in Toka, we got up around 4 in the morning, and Naja and we girls had to see the cooking of the chapatis and vegetables for more than 100 people. We prepared and kneaded the dough for the chapatis before we went to bed the night before so that it would be ready early this morning. Lunch had to be ready by 11 a.m., so we started making chapatis by 8 in the morning. And there were the vegetables to be washed and chopped, and the onions and garlic to peel and cut. At that time, we did not make the rice and dal, but there was much work in the kitchen. Baba, Baba was very, very busy too, supervising everything and looking after all the details. And he came to us for his meals when he was not on fast. Lord Krishna's birthday fell while we were there, and we heard that the Prem Ashram boys wanted to celebrate it. That morning, Baba had a bath and put on a new sadra, and then I brushed his beautiful hair, and we went to meet the boys. They dressed him up as Krishna, and his photo was taken in that costume. We girls also wanted to celebrate Krishna's birthday, but what should we do? Then we remembered that Hindus make a small cradle, put Krishna's picture in it, and sing lullabies to the photo. Flowers were also offered and sweets distributed. So we decided that we would make a cradle, not a small cradle, but an extraordinary one. We were going to make a large cradle for Baba himself to lie in. We girls all got together and were very excited. We found a nice sheet, some good strong rope, and we hung the sheet tied tightly at the four corners from the roof. Then we decorated the cradle with flowers. When Baba came to us, we garlanded him and said, "This year, Baba, we want to celebrate Krishna's birthday. We would like to lie in this cradle we made for you." I just remember, I think there's a photograph of Baba, this cradle.
Okay. I don't remember that. Of course, the Krishna photograph is famous.
Yes, the
Yeah,
Krishna
I
photo.
think Krishna photograph is around the time that he was in Nasik. His birthday was
Okay.
celebrated in Nasik in a very big way when Baba was there,
That's the
and that
famous
is the
one I'm
time he was
referring with
just there.
Mehera, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
that looks
even that's
much later. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, that's what I remember.
So
And he had
Baba,
given a mass darshan in Nasik on his birthday.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. And in Nasik, there's also a replica of the Samadhi, I think. Yes, there is one. They've made a
Yes.
similar one like we have in Meherabad.
Yeah, I think one Mr. Patil, who
Yes,
was a
yes,
rich person and came into Baba's contact, but I don't see him around in Meherabad now. Used to
yes.
be very regular. Yeah.
Okay. So Baba got in the cradle and smiling, he lay down. He knew that all the Prem Ashram boys were happy and he wanted to please us too. Small Koshit had a good voice and she knew a cradle song. So she and some others sang to Baba while we were while we very gently rocked the cradle with Baba in it. About halfway through the song, we heard a strange noise. Baba asked, "What's that noise?" Then he quickly jumped out of the cradle and he was just in time. There was a big tear in the sheet, and a second longer, and Baba would have slipped into the ground through the slit. The bedsheet was not quite new, and it had torn under Baba's back. It was fortunate that the cradle was only about 2.5 feet off the ground. Baba laughed, and we all laughed. He teased us, saying, "This is a very nice kind of cradle. This cradle, I like it very much. Now, never mind." Baba then had Koshit finish the cradle song, and that was the way we celebrated Lord Krishna's birthday. That year, the rains were very late. The villagers of Toka had sown their grain, but only one small shower of rain had come, and they were very frightened of losing their crop. They heard that Baba was a great saint, and they decided to ask for his help. Men came with flowers and bowed down to Baba and asked him for rain. "It will be a great disaster for us," they told Baba, "if it does not rain. We will lose our grain for the whole year, and that is our food." "Be patient," Baba told them. "I'll see to it, it'll rain." So the villagers went home feeling happy. Within 2 days, the sky clouded over, and that night it began to rain and rain and rain. Our rooms had an earthen floor on the same level as the field, and we slept not on beds but in bedding rolls on this floor. That night it rained so hard that water came into our room and drenched us and our bedding. We quickly rolled off the bedding and put it in our trunks, but soon it was raining so hard that the trunks were also sitting in water. So we had to pick them up, and when Baba came, we were holding up these heavy trunks. I, I just remembered it is, often said that if it rains, then it means that Baba's presence is there. This is what I heard from Dr. Gadekar.
Sure.
Okay. Uh, Continuing, bring some earth and barricade the way, Baba told us. So we got up some mud and made a mound at the door, and the water somehow stopped coming in. Then Baba said, bail out the water, and with our basin and buckets and thin mugs, we managed to get rid of the water. But the floor was still damp, and we could not sleep at all that night. Those farmers had asked for rain, and we were drowning. The next day, the rain did not stop. It was not so heavy, but it rained and rained lightly all day. The farmer who had asked for rain now came to beg him to stop the rain. Baba gestured, all right, and by next day, the rain had stopped. It was clear and sunny. We gave a sigh of relief and dried our damp bedding. The farmers were so happy that their crops had been saved. Beating drums, they came to Baba and offered flowers and sweets to him and requested him to go to their village. Baba agreed, and they all rushed to him and lifted him up in this big seat. Some of the men carrying Baba were tall and some were short, and they gave Baba a very uncomfortable ride. Every time they shouted Baba's praises, they threw up the chair up in the air, and Baba had to cling very tightly to it so as not to be thrown out. In their enthusiasm to thank Baba, they forgot his comfort. Baba did not enjoy this ride at all, but to please the villagers and make them happy, he put up with all this discomfort. In November 1928, Baba decided to return from Meherabad. It had been a very wet November, and we were all tired of the dampness. Toka is on the confluence of three rivers, and when leaving Baba, crossed one of them by boat to get his car on the opposite bank. Baba's driver, trying to make it easy for Baba to get to the car, brought it too close up the river bank, and the car got bogged there in a wet, sandy deep. The driver tried to drive it out, but it was too firmly bogged. Baba then called for some bullocks, and the villagers quickly brought 6 pairs of them. They harnessed the bullocks up to the car, and the villagers shouted at the bullocks move. The 6 pairs of bullocks pulled and strained, but the car did not budge. Again and again they tried, but the car would not move. It was stuck in the wet sand. Wait, said Baba said, wait, let the bullocks loose. And he called to Patel, the headman of Arangaon, who loved Baba. He had given Baba a bucket and a pail draw water from the well at Meherabad in 1923, and who had come to Toka with his 2 bullocks. Bring your 2 bullocks and harness them up. Everyone looked at each other, wondering how one pair of bullocks could pull the car out when 6 pairs had failed. But Patel brought his bulls and harnessed them to the car. Baba went up to them and he gave them a good hard pat on their rumps with his palm, as if urging them, come on, do your best. As they started to pull, very gradually and very slowly, the car came out of the wet sand. Everyone standing by was very surprised. Here were 2 bullocks doing what 12 had not been able to do, and they realized that it was Baba who had given the bullocks the strength to pull the car out. Baba kept these 2 bullocks when they were brought back to Meherabad, and from that time he did not let them work very hard. When they died, Baba did not allow them to be treated like other bullocks. They were buried with great honor in a place circulated by Baba. When we returned to Meherabad from Toka, he stayed in the post office. Baba returned to the hill with the Prem Ashram boys, and he was not coming to see us at all. Sayyid Ali, who was then a quite young boy, took Baba's food up the hill from us, and when Baba was not on fast, Ali would come to the post office and say to us, "Give me food for the emperor, please." Although I never spoke with him, He enjoyed hearing him speak of Baba like this. I would help prepare Baba's food, then Naja or my mother would give Baba straight to Ali. One day, a message came from Baba saying that he would come to the post office for a bath and then lunch. During this time, Baba usually had his bath on the hill, but on that day, I must not have it must not have been convenient for him. After having his lunch, Baba told us, "Now there is no money left. Everything is finished, and you can't stay here any longer. You will have to go to Nasik and stay with Ustam and Feni, my sister and her husband." Then Baba told us not to worry about being sent away from Mehera. All that mattered was that we obeyed him, and when we had time, he would come back and forth to Nasik to see us. We did not know it at that time. Baba had plans that he had told no one. It was not the money had run out, but that Baba was planning to go to the west. So this is photograph. Nasik in the early 1930s, standing from left to right, small Khurshid, Feni, Gulmai, Walu, Naja, Mehera, seated from left. Okay, this is standing. Seated from left to right, Mani and Sunamasi.
So this is small Khurshid. Then you have Freni. Freni is Mehra's sister, right?
Yes,
And then Gulmai, the only one I think allowed above in the up the hill. Walu at the back, Naja and Mehra.
yes.
Okay.
Who is Walu?
Walu was the name that was mentioned now as someone from Mehrabad, right? I mean from Arangao, just in the last
Oh, it's
chapter.
a villager. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we'll stop here rather than start a new chapter. We can start this next week. So with that, we close 6 chapters.
Very, very interesting reading. And I just wanted to mention that in the Meher retreat, 1938, I think it's built in 1938. There's also a museum.
Yes, there is on the top floor.
Yes, and there's also uh, something on the ground floor as well, which they open on Thursdays.
That's the
Museum is in the
library.
ground floor, and as we understand reading today, that is the place where Baba had also used for seclusion in the beginning. In the initial period, as
Yes,
Mehra was saying, Baba went into the pit, so that the first floor at that point was not there. We are talking of 27, 28, this period, around that period, and Baba had used that place for seclusion. And later, the Samadhi pit was dug, and Baba used that pit also for seclusion. And then pit was surrounded by bamboo mattings again. Before the Samadhi was built, the pit, the crypt as we call it, not the pit, the crypt was already dug up. Yeah.
but Sanjay, I remember 1930. I don't know what's that.
1938 is the time then the second floor came up and
Okay,
that plank was put up. And that is the year Iraj joined Baba in Mirabad.
okay,
In his talk, I have heard, just after
good.
that he joined. That was in August 1938, this building got completed, if you remember. It's
Yes,
written August 1938. Yeah.
yes,
Correct.
Yes,
Perfect.
yes,
Good,
yes.
brilliant memory. August 1938. That's what it says.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
yes.
And so that's the period where the turret and the first floor was built, I think.
Yeah. So once it was completed, they wrote that August 1938, May
Yeah.
38.
And
Plank was
they
put.
also have that tower, the turret with the flag on top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And 1948, 49, this period, a lot of Western women came and stayed on the first floor. So all these
Okay.
Delia Leon and the Jean and Rail and Elizabeth Patterson, all these Western women stayed there that period.
Excellent. I used to I mean in the train journeys I used to look out for the flag from the train, yeah, coming in. It's visible from the line from the train moving train. Yeah, you can see the flag. But you can't really see the samadhi because that's much lower.
You were a
Yes.
frequent traveler. I remember that in the initial times, we at one go 12, 14 times a year.
Yeah, yes. I
Yeah,
remember.
in Baba's world, we call them dietetic.
You call them what?
Dietetic. Dietetic. Z Z-E-T-I-C. Look at the meaning.
Oh, okay. The
The
zetetic.
one who is in the Zetetic, yeah.
Oh, statistic.
The one who is in a quest, Yeah, Zetetic.
Ah, Hazra's book.
Not
Yeah,
Hazra's book. Yeah, Memoirs of a Zetetic. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a beautiful book. If anybody has not learned, I recommend
I've
that
read that.
one
I've
must
read
read.
that.
Yeah,
I've,
it's beautiful.
I have a
Yeah,
spare copy if anybody wants. I can.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll wrap up at this point. Tomorrow we do discourses, morning, same time. Look forward to seeing you all. And yeah, I think that's about it. Anything else?